You're listening to Just Hit Play with your hosts, Peter and Nick Cabral. If you're tired of your stagnant, streamed music feed, then strap yourselves in for an intergenerational sonic journey through Peter and Nick's favorite songs.
Welcome to episode 17 of Just Hit Play. I'm your host, Peter. With me, as always, is my co-host, Nick. Nick, how you doing?
Doing well. I've had some nice time off work, been on a couple trips. And I'm just relaxing before I go back to school in a few short days.
And happy birthday for a couple days ago.
Yeah, thank you.
How did your birthday go?
Well, I spent my birthday mostly driving in traffic. I was driving back from a cottage trip with some of my friends, and it was some bad traffic.
Yeah, I think I saw a little bit of that on Instagram, I think.
Yeah, I posted a story. It was like the whole highway was shut down for about an hour. So we had lawn chairs in my car, obviously, that we brought to the cottage, and we just sat outside and, hung out, waiting for this traffic to clear up. It was crazy.
And you're 21 now?
That's correct.
So you can drink anywhere in the world?
Anywhere, yeah.
How exciting.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Gonna have to make a trip to Vegas when this pandemic's over.
And in our Brisbane studios, our faithful engineer, Darren. Darren, how you doing?
I'm going good, just working away normally.
All right. Thank you, Darren. All right, we have a heavy episode this week, so let's get started. Nick, you're going to go first with a song from Kid Cudi.
That's correct. So Pursuit of Happiness is probably Kid Cudi's most famous and well-known song. I believe it's completely timeless, and it's very meaningful to many people in my generation. It's really a super popular song, one of those ones everyone my age that is into hip-hop or hip-hop adjacent music, they all know the words to it. And, it's a bit of a different sound than what you might be used to. So I'm really curious to hear what you think. And Darren, why don't you just hit play?
Crush a bit, little bit, roll it up, take a hit, feeling lit, feeling right, 2 a.m. summer night, I don't care, hand on the wheel, driving drunk, I'm doing my thing, rolling the mid beside him now, living my life.
So I'm curious, what were your first impressions of this track?
I really love this song for a couple reasons. There's no auto-tune anywhere near it, which I appreciate. It looks like he stuck to his own voice throughout the whole song. And I also love how vulnerable the song is for him, because he's really, I love the dream nightmare sort of sequence that he's doing. It looked like it's from a concept album, but I'll let you explore that a little bit further.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're very correct. It's an extremely vulnerable song. This Kid Cudi, he's just pouring his heart out for the whole duration of the track. Talking about his mental health issues, his coping mechanisms, which don't seem to be healthy, and, like you said, nightmares. And you're absolutely right, it is a concept album. It's broken up into like a dream section, a nightmare section. This particular song kicks off the nightmare section of the album, and it's a lot of Kid Cudi's music is in this similar vein. He's a very vulnerable artist. He's very public and open about his struggles with mental health issues, but he also makes great sounding music.
Yeah, it's interesting because of the title Pursuit of Happiness, which is a very interesting concept in America anyway. I think it's part of their constitution, if I'm not mistaken. And how or what pursuit is he talking about exactly? Is he talking about a mental pursuit of happiness, monetarily, pursuit of happiness? Is it pills? Is it drugs? Pursuit of happiness? Like, what is he exactly talking about? I found quite interesting.
Yeah, and I think there's different lines in the song that can allude to all of those things, right? Like you can say he's pursuing happiness in all these different aspects, and he's talking about struggles he's facing, as a musician, as someone who's starting to have some success in the industry, or just general struggles with having nightmares and night terrors, right? He wants to move past that. it's really a song that you can look at from a lot of different angles, which is something I appreciate about it.
Yeah, I watched the video as well, and I like the part in the video where there's sort of people partying around him, and he's just still, and his movements aren't reflecting what's happening around him. Sort of like he's thinking, yeah, this, lifestyle of being rich and famous is fun and all, but you sort of at some point, I'm guessing, I've never been rich and or famous, at some point you sort of feel like you're apart from it, because that's really not who you grow up as, and most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kid Cudi, he's very, like I said already, he's very vulnerable, very open about these things he struggles with, and he's always just kind of been reclusive, just a really chill guy from all the interviews and stories I've heard about him. He's just very chill, doesn't really party too much, or he's never been in any kind of scandal or anything. So yeah, I totally believe that he's trying to say in the video. He kind of sticks out. He's not really a part of that lifestyle. Yeah.
Maybe I didn't watch the video closely enough, but is there a cameo by Drake in it? Was he mugging for the camera in this video?
I haven't watched the video in any time recently, so I can't say off the top of my head.
Maybe I have this spatial blindness whenever Drake comes on the screen that I just can't see him. It's a condition that I've developed, Drake-itis, where I can't actually see his face because of all the Raptor games where he's mugging for the camera. Did it for me. Maybe that's what it is. And for anyone who's a Drake fan, you're wrong.
Speaking of Drake, he just dropped a new album
not
too long ago. Shout out Drake, Certified Lover Boy, all streaming platforms now.
Is that what it's called? It's called Loverboy?
Certified Lover Boy.
Oh, God. Does he wear Playboy cologne as well? This is just bad. It's bad.
Have you not seen the picture of the heart shaved into his head, like his hair?
No, he doesn't.
Oh yeah. You gotta look that up. I think you'd find it hilarious. It's just at the front of his hairline, he's got a little heart etched into his hair. Someone
needs to do an intervention with this young man. I know he's sold more albums than God and all that bullshit, but yikes, that's bad taste. Anyway,
back to Kid Cudi.
Hate that guy.
Who actually Kid Cudi? Fun fact, featured on Certified Lover Boy.
Oh boy.
So yeah, the video really complements the song well, and anyone who hasn't watched it, I really urge you to do so. And Emma Silvers, who's a writer from SF Weekly, when they reviewed this song back in 2009, they called it a self-aware party anthem, and I think that's extremely accurate description. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds like a very apt description. Yeah, it's perfect. He is very self-aware of what's happening around him.
Yeah, and this song is equally at home on a party playlist or a sad kind of moody playlist. I've heard it played at many parties. There's club remixes, like EDM club remixes, that I've heard many a time. But then I've also played this song, when I'm by myself in bed at some pretty low points, and it's very therapeutic. It really serves a lot of purposes, and it can be played in many different settings, which is another reason I think it's so timeless.
Well, it's got that really it's not a fast song, but it's not a slow song either. So it has that really interesting sort of military cadence or beat to it. So you could play it in a club or in a bar, and people would definitely groove to it as a happy song, but I think it fits exactly what the scenario you're talking about. When if you're alone in your bedroom thinking about things or going through things, I think that song works in that way too.
Yeah, and I really think that just speaks to great songwriting when something can pull double duty like that too, because to have lyrics that can be sang along to at a club, but then also be really meaningful. That just takes good songwriting.
And to be frank, too, humans generally are kind of stupid. So when you have a song that talks about pills or drinking, they sort of celebrate that when they're together, like, hey, let's all take pills or whatever, not knowing what they're celebrating exactly. There's a song by an awful band. God, I can't remember. I think it's called Semi-Charmed Kind of Life by Third Eye Blind. And It was this big party anthem. and it's really about ODing on mescaline and having a bad time when you're on drugs. But if you don't pay attention to lyrics, which most people don't pay attention to it, they see it as a very sort of happy party song when it's not. By the way, Third Eye Blind, terrible band. Don't listen to them.
I will never listen to them.
No,
I will never.
I've seen them. They opened up for U2, unfortunately, so I've seen them live.
Unfortunately,
and that was sad. I didn't like that.
Well, there's a song by Kendrick Lamar called "Swimming Pools." I'm not sure if you've heard of it ever.
I have.
Yeah, very similar thing. It's it's a song about the perils of drinking and sort of the drinking culture that a lot of teenagers fall into. And it's really not glorifying drinking in the slightest, but like people go crazy for it when it's played at a party. And like that song comes on, everyone rushes to go do a shot or something, and it's like literally what the actual lyrics of the song are warning about. So yeah, people are generally stupid.
As the pandemic continues and we're watching the anti-vax movement going, we're sort of getting that, aren't we?
Yeah, and just in case it was unclear, this is a pro-vaccination podcast.
Yes.
We're very pro-vax here.
We like our jabs.
Yeah, we sure do.
How did you come across this song? Like, I'm always interested. We like to look at finer details and go into things. How did you first come this song sort of attract your attention?
It was just kind of everywhere. In the early. So the song came out in 2009. I wasn't really aware of it till a few years later. Say 2013, 2012, 2013. But even then it was just kind of inescapable. I'd hear it, in different TV shows or games or in YouTube videos, or friends would play it, hear it, in those types of settings. So it's just kind of always been there and always been really good.
I find that really fascinating because it wasn't a hit single. This song did not chart very well. But it sort of seems like it stayed in the consciousness of the hip hop community, especially, and just got played down the line because people realized what a good song it was.
Well, yeah, that's exactly the case. It's really a cult classic in as much as a song can be. I mean, it's been 5 times platinum in the United States, but it's still, like you said, it didn't get a ton of radio play.
No.
So yeah, I don't know. It's just a really great song. And it was hard to not hear it.
Right.
And, it's been covered so many times.
It has been, yeah.
Like rap artists have done covers, indie bands, folk singers. And again, all I can say to that is it just speaks to how good the songwriting is, that it can be, you can put so many different spins on the song. It still sounds good.
And because the title is Pursuit of Happiness and people sort of can attribute to that what they want, I think the Montreal Canadiens, which if you're listening from Europe or Australia, Montreal Canadiens are a very famous ice hockey team in Canada, use this song as an anthem for their last playoff run. Even though it has nothing to do with hockey, it's more of an introspective song. Because of the title Pursuit of Happiness, you can make whatever you want up, I guess.
I suppose so. Yeah, it's a shame that they have to resort to such songs to portray their delusion that they'll ever win anything again. But it's whatever.
Yeah, let's hope the Montreal Canadiens never win anything because they suck. It's a really fascinating song that way because it means so many different things to so many different people, but they might not understand what it's really about. Have you ever heard the song "Every Breath You Take" by The Police?
Yeah. Very creepy song when you look at the lyrics.
So many people have used that for their wedding songs, and Sting comes out and goes, "Why the hell are people? It's a creepy song. It's about a stalker. Why are people using this song as their wedding song?" But it was seen as a romantic, love ballad, and it's nothing of the sort. So yeah, people make whatever.
It really isn't.
No, people make up whatever they want. They attribute whatever they want to a song.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. I mean, "Born in the USA" by Bruce Springsteen. I think Trump used it for his campaign. Very like anti, I don't know, American government song, you could say. Like it's not pro whatever Trump was.
No.
Definitely not.
There's another Springsteen song, and I can't. It's one of the most famous songs, and I can't remember the name of the title. It'll come to me at some point. But it's about New Jersey, where he's from, and New Jersey used it as their sort of state anthem for a while until they realized the song's about trying to get the hell out of New Jersey.
Oh my god!
They stopped using that as their anthem, state anthem. Yeah, that's kind of funny though.
Yeah, you'd think I just have a look at the lyrics and really go through them before designating it to be their state song, but that's not my call, so it's okay.
No, and again, New Jersey's mentioned, and it's Bruce Springsteen, the world famous Bruce Springsteen, and that they were like, hey, he mentions New Jersey, it must be a good thing about New Jersey, and and they attributed their own bias to the song, and there you go. That's what happened. Yeah. No, but I really love the song. It's it was so many different things really to me, until again you sit down and listen to the song, and I was like, oh, it's not what I thought it was about.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we ask Darren what he thinks?
Do it.
Darren, lay it on me.
It had a familiar sound to it, and I don't mind it. So I've clearly heard it in the past, so I'll keep listening to it.
All right, awesome, good stuff.
I'll say this too. While I was doing research for the song, I did see a live video of Kid Cudi singing this song live. Maybe auto-tune might have been handy.
He wasn't that great. Wasn't his night.
He's a rapper. Singing may not be his thing. That's all I'll say.
It's funny. Nowadays it's kind of like a thing that he has amazing hums. Like he'll go on a song and just hum. Obviously not the whole time, but it's become like a trademark thing that he does. He has this really nice melodic hum, which is pretty crazy. You should check out his humming sometimes.
So he's known for his hums. All right, I'll check out Kid Cudi's hums.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next song. We have Echo and the Bunnymen and the Killing Moon. I'm going to get Darren to just hit play because I love the song so much I just want to hear it. Darren, just hit play. Nick, before I go into the song a little bit further, there's something you should know. My niece, Rose, who's your cousin, I presented her 3 songs to listen to, and she chose this one for you to listen to.
Oh, very cool. Thank you, Rose.
Yeah, so I thought I would get Rose involved, so I gave her 3 songs. One was by the Rolling Stones, one was by the band The Cult, and this one by Echo and the Bunnymen, and she chose Echo and the Bunnymen. So I thought I'd let you know that. So thank you, Rose. You picked one of my favorite songs. Okay, Nick, tell me what you thought.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, Rose, you picked extremely well. I thought this was a really, really interesting, unique song. And it's one of those ones where every time I listen to it, I picked up on something new, some new aspect that I appreciated. And yeah, man, I feel like we could dissect this one for a while.
Echo the Bunnymen formed in 1978 in Liverpool. Their first album came out in Liverpool.
Hey, nice.
There you go. The first album came out in 1980, and they pretty much lasted till about 1987. That's when Ian McCulloch, the lead singer of the band, left the band, and they continued without him, but it didn't matter because no one really listened to them once Ian McCulloch left. The Killing Moon was released in 1984. It is their biggest single that they ever had. It was their first top 10 sort of single.
Wow. Well, yeah. I like them even more knowing they're from Liverpool. Shout out Liverpool FC.
Yep.
Yeah, this song just sounded like so many different things, doesn't it? I mean, I got new wave vibes from the singer's voice, which is great. I love new wave music.
Yeah.
But then there's these really nice strings, not really as many electronic elements, and yeah, it sounds almost like something the Smashing Pumpkins would make, but still distinct.
I would say the Smashing Pumpkins were heavily influenced by Echo and the Bunnymen.
Yeah, well, that's right. These guys would have come first, so
yeah, a lot
Pumpkins.
Yeah,
yeah, it definitely sounds like they were fans of them now.
Even the singer knew, Ian McCulloch knew what kind of song they had, and he said that there are no other bands in the world that could have a song anywhere close to Killing Moon. So he knew that this was their best song. And he actually wrote it in a very strange way. He woke up one morning and just started writing. He doesn't know where it came from. He just started writing the lyrics. And so he credits God with co-writing half the song with him.
However the lyrics of the song came about, they're really good.
Yeah,
like that. The line in the chorus, "Fate up against your will." I think that's how it goes.
Yeah,
it is. That's a really clever line, I have to say. Like, I just kind of smirked and said, "Yeah, that's good." When I first heard it.
Now, do you know the David Bowie song "Space Oddity"?
Of course, great song.
Okay, so this song is the same chords but played backwards.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did not know that until I started doing research into the song. It's the same chords, just played backwards from Space Oddity, which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. I wonder how they had the idea to do that.
I don't know. Yeah, probably drugs. It was the 80s.
Probably, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Echo and the Bunnymen. You probably have never heard of them before because they're one of those obscure 1980s post-punk bands, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever heard of them.
Okay. They had a big cult status since 1980, and they never really lived up to their potential. So if we look at... Okay, I always thought Echo and the Bunnymen has a weird thing with U2. So U2 started in 1976. Echo and the Bunnymen started in 1978. They both released albums in 1980. Their biggest singles up until that time was both released in 1984, with U2 releasing Pride in the Name of Love and Echo and the Bunnymen releasing The Killing Moon. After 1984 is where the two bands sort of separated. U2 released The Joshua Tree, and Echo and the Bunnymen broke up in 1987. They never really fulfilled their potential, which is quite... there's a lot of post-punk bands that were on the precipice of like huge stardom that never went anywhere.
That's a real shame. I feel like so many bands then could really survive now with just the access that the internet provides.
Yeah,
that's really too bad.
So I'll just give you a few band names that started in the post-punk sort of movement that had a lot of potential. People thought they were going to be huge. That slowly just disappeared. And you probably never heard of any of these bands. So let me see if you've heard of any of these bands. There's The Teardrop Explodes.
Nope.
The Psychedelic Furs.
Oh, yeah, I love the Psychedelic Furs.
Okay, so there's another band that had a lot of potential that never really achieved what they could have. Echo and the Bunnymen, who we're listening to now, and another band called Modern English.
Yeah, no, I only know the Psychedelic Furs of that bunch.
Yeah, all had really early success and had cult following, but just slowly faded away as the post-punk movement. Sort of that ended. They couldn't continue. But there are bands that were from the post-punk era that really did well. Like The Cure had a fantastic career. The Police were one of the biggest bands in the world. Depeche Mode came out of the post-punk era. And a band that you might not have heard of, but are a really cool band, the Jesus and Mary Chain, had a really good
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they had a really good post-punk career.
So post-punk, I always thought that because punk was in the name, it was going to be like really aggressive, kind of, aggressive guitar, aggressive drums, that sort of upbeat music. But most of the post-punk stuff I've heard is a little bit more chill and low key. So that's always confused me.
Yeah, don't think of it as a punk sort of sound. It literally means punk. The punk era ended, and these are all the bands that were influenced by the punk movement that aren't necessarily punk. Like The Cure are not a punk band.
Right.
but they are definitely a post-punk new wave kind of band.
See, yeah, that's always confused me because I understand that it's you can it's very loose to say that you were influenced by punk because it's more of an idea
It is.
than an actual sound. But
Exactly.
yeah, it's just always kind of confused me because such a wide range of bands are post punk, and just hearing that as a label
Yeah.
doesn't really tell you much about what the music's going to sound like.
Nothing at all. If you think about punk, punk was a way to clear out any debris that was still around in the 70s. The 70s was really an indulgent, drug taking, big decade of music up until 1977 when the Sex Pistols and the Ramones and the Clash sort of started coming out. Disco was huge, and the whole great thing about punk, and I don't mind, I like some disco songs, but the whole thing about punk was just to get rid of these bloated, self-indulgent music. 3 chords, 3 minutes, say what you got to say and get off the stage. That's punk. That's the punk echo. Or sorry, punk ethics.
Hey, I can respect that. I can definitely respect that. I mean, one of my favorite rappers at the time, right now, Playboy Cardi, he just released an album that is extremely punk inspired.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, it sounds nothing like punk music, but it's really short. A lot of songs are minute 30, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, absolute max, and it's just extremely aggressive music. Like it's very irreverent. And even the album cover, it's like designed after a punk magazine from the 70s. um, yeah, so it really defines genre, and it's more an idea, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, shout out punk because it gave us Echo and the Bunnymen, this fantastic song.
Absolutely. And again, punk is not, it's an idea. It doesn't necessarily refer to any type of music. Obviously, when you hear the word punk, there is a specific type of music that you think
Yeah.
of, but it's more of an idea. Even if you look at the Ramones, all the Ramones were doing were either playing Beatles songs or the Beach Boys songs really fast. That's
Yeah.
all they did. They weren't technical players. They couldn't sing. They kind of could play their instruments, but that wasn't what was important. It was about the attitude, uh,
The energy.
the energy. That's punk. And so,
Right.
yeah, it is the music, but it's also an idea.
Well, I think that's really cool. And I just have to say, I had this written down to mention the last minute and a half, 2 minutes almost of this song sound very much like an Arcade Fire song, something Arcade Fire would do. And I love it so much. Like the whole time listening to the song, I just can't wait to hear the outro because
Yeah,
the strings start going crazy. It sounds something like something that could be on a funeral by Arcade Fire.
yeah.
Great
Arcade Fire.
album. So,
Arcade
love
Fire
it.
would have been highly inspired by Echo and the Bunnymen. You can just tell in their music that this kind of sound would be very important to Echo and the Bunnymen.
Yeah, and I'm curious. You mentioned this band didn't really have a ton of success. So what kind of gravitated you towards them? How did you become a fan?
Um, That's a really good question. I'm not really sure. I just have always known about this song. When you are into sort of alternative music, as I was in like the late 80s, 90s, this just sort of becomes part of the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
It just becomes part of the furniture that you have in your room. So I've known about the Killing Moon for a long time. Back in the day, there was a really cool TV show called The New Music, and that's what they did. They played new music, and I remember the Sex Pistols on the New Music, and I would have been young. So Sex Pistols came out in 77, 78, so I would have been 6 years old. I remember the Sex Pistols. I remember this band from the New Music. I have a funny story about the New Music. I'll save for another episode. If we ever listen to an REM song, I have a funny story
Okay.
about the New Music. One of my remember I say there's a lot of things that have happened to me at concerts.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'll have a story. One, just remind me about the story I have whenever we listen to an REM song you've never heard of. It's pretty funny.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just part of the furniture in my musical room, I guess I'll say.
Yeah. Well, I said pretty much the exact same thing when you asked me about Pursuit of Happiness,
Right.
and it really is true. There are some songs that just they're just there, and they're just part of the music that you hear all the time by being a fan of a genre.
Exactly. I love alternative music. I'm not a big pop fan. I like pop songs, but I'm not the biggest pop fan in the world. I can't tell you what's popular in the charts right now. But I do like a good alternative song where you make me feel something. That's where I live.
Yeah, I mean that's where I kind of started with being a music fan, and I'll always have a deep love for alternative music as well.
Yeah, no, it's great. Darren, what did you think?
Yeah, I like this one.
Yeah, are you the same way? It's just always been part of the scene. You've just always remembered the song.
I don't know. It feels familiar, but I'm not sure if it just might have always been there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also heavily featured in a movie called Donnie Darko. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the movie Donnie Darko.
Okay, that's where I know it from.
Yeah, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, which is set in the 80s. And this song is a big influence on that movie. So if you ever want to see Donnie Darko, it's a very good, confusing time travel movie.
Interesting.
Yeah. Good film, though.
Out.
Good film. Don't watch Donnie Darko 2. It's shit.
Okay.
Just stick to the original Donnie Darko.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for the recommendation.
No, I'm glad you like the song. It's one of my favorites.
Yep. Solid. Definitely very solid.
Next is our independent artist for the week. And this week we have Susan Muranty. I recently listened to the song called Stop Time with a Kiss on Instagram, and I really loved it. So I reached out to Susan to see if we could play this song on our podcast, and she said yes. And it was released on September the 8th. So basically, it came out yesterday as of we're recording this. And it's debuted number 1 on the Australian iTunes for singer-songwriter charts. And it's in the top 10 of all the genre charts. And the song was also nominated for Hollywood Music and Media Awards. So, hey, congrats, Susan. That's awesome. She's a lyricist who lives in Sydney. She came to music through words. She's a poet and just started putting her poetry to music. She's also a sculptor and works in a studio. And she's currently making a bronze work that is made out of recycled materials, and it's about the portrait painter Nora Hayson. I'm not sure who Nora Hayson is, but I'll look her up, and it's for a museum in South Australia. And this is her song, Stop with a Kiss. Darren, just hit play.
All I want is you. Without diamonds I can manage. Don't need a paycheck for a crazy house. Money goes out, but you come home to me damaged. The world out there is getting savage. Spinning around, the days go way too fast. Nothing lasts but your arms around me. Arms around me. Stop time with a kiss. Stop time with a kiss. Tonight we're gonna free fall. Doesn't matter who calls, we can stop time with a kiss. All I want is you. I know you want me to. Got a blanket and a billion stars, two runaway hearts. Put your arms around me. Arms around me. Stop time with a kiss. We can stop time with a kiss. Oh, tonight we're gonna free fall. Doesn't matter who kiss. With a kiss. With a kiss. Oh, breathe in, let go. Breathe out your shadows. Moonbeams will fall from your lips. Oh, breathe in, let go. Breathe out your shadows. Moonbeams will fall from your lips. Stop time with a kiss.
You've been listening to Just Hit Play. To contact your hosts, Peter and Nick, or to be featured on an episode as musical talent, email justhitplay7300@gmail.com. Keep up to date with news and announcements by following on Instagram and Facebook, linked in the show notes. Subscribe on your favourite podcatcher to tune in next week for more sonic delights. And if you can't wait till then, check out the Just Hit playlist on Spotify, linked in the show notes. A special thanks to Braden Munch for the theme song, and thank you for listening.